أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ومولاي يا رسول الله وعلى آلك المظلومين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتي. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل. In the days that follow the events or the commemoration of the events of the 10th of Muharram until the last part or the next part or the second part of the month of Safar, or around the days of ARBA'EEN. When we commemorate these days, we can't but remember those who survived the events of the 10th of Muharram, the year 61 Hijri in Karbala. Inshallah, tonight and the following nights, I will be talking about one of those. I will be talking about Imam Ali, son of Hussain, Zain al-Abidin, alayhi salam. Imam Zain al-Abidin, who was the continuer of the path of Karbala, who was the preserver of the message of Ashura in Karbala, who was the one who continued the mission of Imam Hussain alayhi salam in Karbala, and who was the one who also worked towards accomplishing the goals of Imam Hussain in Karbala. So that we know him, because it's an obligation upon every one of us to know him, so that we appreciate him, so that we do him a bit of justice, because he was not done justice in history, as history was written by those who were in authority. They did not give the Imam his due rights. And so that we take him as inspiration, so that we are inspired by what he did, so that we take him as a role model. Inshallah, this is what I'll be covering tonight and the next 4 nights. It is known that Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, Imam Zain al-Abidin in Karbala, he was 23 years of age, 24 years of age, according to some narrations. And it is known also that when Imam al-Hussain left Medina in the middle of the year 60 Hijri, Imam Zain al-Abidin was healthy, he was fine. And as the caravan, as they got closer to Karbala, he got ill, and on the day of Ashura, we know that he was extremely ill. Imam Sajjad, Imam Zain al-Abidin, he was very ill. And soon after the events of the 10th of Muharram happened, he recovered. He recovered. Which is very strange when we see some people who insist to call Imam Zain al-Abidin as the sick Imam or the ill Imam. Why? Because he was ill for a few days maybe. And that's not a correct image. That's not a correct description of Imam Zain al-Abidin. Depicting the Imam as a weak person, as a overtaken person. When we see the reports of history about this Imam, we see that he was courageous beyond imagination, as inshallah I will cover. So on the day of 10th of Muharram, when these events happened as they were happening, despite his severe illness, Imam Sajjad, Imam Zain al-Abidin, he insisted that he wanted to fight. He was so sick that he would be dragging his sword, asking Imam Hussain for permission. Obviously, Imam Hussain alayhi salam would not give him permission, so that he's preserved. Not that Imam Hussain doesn't want his son to be killed. Not that Imam Hussain wants to preserve him because he is his son. No, we have Ali Akbar. Ali Akbar was as young as well. He was a young man. And he was the first person of the family of Hussain to go to battle. So it wasn't that. Imam Hussain preserved Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam because through Zain al-Abidin, the lineage of Imamat has to continue. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserved that through Ali ibn al-Hussein, through Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. And that was the reason, or one of the reasons that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guarded the Imam and protected him. So it was the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was indeed the protection of Allah. Because if we see the circumstances, the people who were committing these massacres against Imam al-Hussein and his people were those who were ready to do anything to preserve their wealth and positions and kingdoms. They were saying what? لا تبقوا لأهل هذا البيت باقية. Do not leave a trace for this family. They had that slogan. And they had every opportunity to actually kill Imam al-Sajjad. We see in many reports of history that Imam al-Sajjad, Imam Zain al-Abidin, some say, let's kill him. And then by some way, they change their minds. Or in the court of this accursed Ubaidullah bin Ziyad, the governor of Kufa, when Zainab actually throws herself on him, she would say, are you ordering that he be killed? You have to go through me first. You have to kill me first. And she stuck to him, preserving this lineage of imamah, of leadership. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected Imam Zain al-Abidin. These people were seizing any opportunity. They had no issue with actually killing Zain al-Abidin as they killed the many of his family. So Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, Imam Zain al-Abidin, his responsibility of imamah and leadership started on that afternoon, on that day of Ashura. He became the wali, he became the imam. Normally, when you have a leader who's transferring the leadership to another leader, you have a certain party, a certain community leader transferring the leadership. There might be a certain ceremony, happy ceremony. There might be a certain transfer of supporters, for example, saying, you know, these are my supporters, now they are yours. These are my companions, my soldiers, now they are yours. Maybe a transfer of properties, of wealth as well. But how were the circumstances that Imam Zain al-Abidin received this imamah and this leadership? In terms of companions and supporters, Imam Zain al-Abidin had no supporters. He had no companions left. All the supporters of Imam al-Hussain and Imam Zain al-Abidin were either massacred on the plains of Karbala or in the dungeons of the prisons of Ubaidullah bin Ziyad in Kufa, or in Basra, in the prisons in Basra, or lost in the deserts. Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam had supporters, had more supporters than the 70 people or the 100 people that are mentioned in history. He had many people who tried and attempted to reach him, but they were prohibited, they were prevented, because they were either in prison or being punished or were lost. Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, Imam Zain al-Abidin, when he received his leadership, his imamat, had no one. All he had was his auntie Zainab, was his sisters, the womenfolk, the children, the widows of Karbala, the widows of the martyrs of Karbala. In terms of wealth and possessions, what did the transfer of leadership to Imam Zain al-Abidin, how did it offer itself to him? We know that on the 10th of Ashura, on the 10th of Muharram, that day, all Imam al-Hussain had, all his possessions were looted. Even his cloak, even his turban, even the ring in his finger, even the earrings in the ears of the little children, they were looted. All they had remaining was literally the clothes that they were wearing as they were taken captive or as captives to Kufa and to Sham. This was the scene of the transfer of this leadership. In terms of the atmosphere, in what circumstances did Imam Zain al-Abidin receive this imamah and leadership? We see that Imam received that leadership in an hour where within 1 hour he witnessed with his own eyes the murder of his father, of his uncles, of his 2 brothers, of the companions, of the supporters of his father. He witnessed all this. Imam received his imama as he was hearing the cries of the little children and the women. This was the circumstance of Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, receiving this imama, where on the opposite side, there was this huge army that were also willing to commit any atrocity, just by the command of someone by the name of Umar bin Sa'd, for example, ready to do anything. Umar bin Sa'd, who would be shouting, "Ahriqu buyut al-zalimin," burn the houses of these oppressors, referring to Hussein and his family. This was how Imam Zain al-Abidin received his imam. Now we have this 23, 24-year-old young man having this responsibility, receiving this responsibility of continuing the goals of Imam al-Hussein, continuing the mission of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, the responsibility of accomplishing what Imam al-Hussein wanted to accomplish, the responsibility of preserving the inheritance and the legacy of the prophets. This is what the positions of the imams are. Don't we say to Imam al-Hussein, "Assalamu alayka ya waritha Adam, ya waritha Nuh," or the inheritor of all these prophets? Imam Zain al-Abidin was the inheritor of this legacy, and it's his role now to preserve it. It is the role of Imam Zain al-Abidin now to transfer and transmit that message, to transmit what happened in Karbala on that day through generations, through time, and through space, through the lands. Because otherwise, the story of what happened on the 10th of Muharram would have disappeared in the deserts, my brothers and sisters, had Imam Zain al-Abidin not taken that responsibility to do what he had to do, along with Lady Zainab alayhi salam and the captives. So Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam obviously had goals that Imam Sajjad now had to continue. Let me remind of some of these goals of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Number one, preserving the true Muhammadi Islam, preserving the true version of Islam. After the campaigns of distortion and deformation and defamation of Islam that Muawiyah had established, and Yazid, his son, would be continuing after him. They completely deformed what Islam is supposed to be like. The outlook of Islam was something different than what the Prophet ﷺ had planned. So this is a goal of Imam Hussain. Another was to terminate this alleged legitimacy for the Umayyad rule. The Umayyads, those people who, since the early days of Islam, who never really joined Islam out of conviction, out of devotion, to expose their true intentions, to expose them, to expose their goals, basically, their stance that was against the message of Islam since the beginning. Didn't Imam Hussain say explicitly, وَعَلَى الْإِسْلَامِ السَّلَامِ إِذِ ابْتُلِيَتِ الْأُمَّةُ بِرَاعٍ مِثْلِ يَزِيدٍ? Let's bid farewell to Islam with the calamity that someone like Yazid would govern the Ummah now. That's what Imam Hussain said. It's a calamity that the one who is assuming the position of the Prophet of God is someone like Yazid bin Muawiyah, the drunkard, the corrupt, the tyrant, the criminal. Imam Hussain had to expose that. Another goal was also to confront and to defeat this Umayyad project. That Umayyad project that was what? Transforming this leadership of the Ummah into what? Into a tyranny, into a rulership of tyranny, into a kingdom. Nothing whatsoever related to the earlier ways of the earlier Khulafa. At least, nothing. It's an authoritarian rule now. One person rules as a king. That's what it is. Those Umayyads who wanted to bring back the Arab environment that was pre-Islamic, the Jahiliyyah, those dark ages, the dark values, or some of the dark values that were there. The Banu Umayyah, the Umayyads wanted to bring those back. This was a systematic thing that they were doing in the way they were governing. Imam Hussain had to confront that. It's his responsibility as the Imam. Another of the goals, or one of the goals of Imam al-Hussein's movement also was what? To awaken the Ummah, to awaken the nation, to revive the consciousness of the Muslims, to make them remember their duties towards Islam, the Quran, the Prophet, the Messenger of God, the family of the Prophet, to make them remember their duties of Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahi an Munkar, that there is something very wrong going on. Why are you all quiet? What is all this deafening silence about? Imam Hussain had to remind these people that the trajectory of history is going somewhere completely wrong, not as Rasulullah had planned at all. He had to shake them, he had to remind them. This was a goal from Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. So, these were some of the goals that also Imam Zain al-Abidin now had to work on. Imam Zain al-Abidin had to continue the mission of Imam al-Hussain. Yes, maybe with a different method. Now Imam Zain al-Abidin has the responsibility to accomplish these goals with reference to the events that happened in Karbala. And the very first mission that he had, the very first duty that he had was what? Was that he clarifies what happened on that day. Because all the witnesses who were on that day were whom? Were who? Were the army, the oppressing army, those who killed Hussein, they participated in killing Hussein and his family. And this family, Zainul Abidin, Zainab, the ladies, the children, this little group of people that remained. So the first duty of Imam Zainul Abidin now is to clarify what happened. Who the true killer is. Who were the people who were killed? These are not kuffar, these are not infidels, these are not khawarij. As the propaganda machine of the Umayyad Empire, what did they suggest? What did they say? They were trying to convince people, these are khawarij, these are enemies of Islam. These are captives of war that we've taken from the countries of Khurasan and Daylam and Turk and those areas back then. Areas of the frontiers of the wars. These are captives of war. Imam Zain al-Abidin had to clarify that no, this is the family of the messenger of God. This is the family of the man that this tyrant is ruling in the name of. This is the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Imam Zain al-Abidin had to make sure that this is clarified and not forgotten forever. So uncovering the identity of the true killer and the identity of the victims was that very important mission. And this is what Imam Zain al-Abidin also made sure he did immediately after he received the imamah. And I'll mention two important stations, inshallah, tonight, and tomorrow later we'll continue. The two important stations were the first station after Karbala. They were taken captive after Karbala to the city of Kufa first, which was closer to Karbala than Sham in Syria. And the next station was in Sham. So in Kufa, now the caravan of the captives enters Kufa, enters the courtyard of the governor of Kufa, who was named Ubaidullah bin Ziyad, who hadn't been a governor for so long. And those who read history and read how this governor went or entered Kufa, in what sly way, they would understand what kind of a character that man was. He was a very wicked man, wicked tyrant. They understand what this character was. So imagine this scenery where there is someone, a tyrant, someone who vanquished, someone who was victorious by the material sense. They've just won a battle very decisively. They've massacred Hussein and his companions, those who revolted against the Amirul Mu'mineen, as they would call him, the chief of the believers, Yazid bin Muawiyah. Right? So you have this man now sitting, his courtyard, the elite of the people are present in his courtyard, and you have Zainul Abidin, Zainab, the womenfolk, chained, entering that courtyard, defeated by the military sense. Some people in their majalis or in their maybe writings, they depict Imam Zainul Abidin and Zainab as they were people who were broken, who were weak, entering as humiliated people. But we see what happened as events after. They show the complete opposite. They show the true courage that Zainul Abidin demonstrated. You know, this responsibility that I mentioned that Imam Zainul Abidin had, and that is to clarify who was the killer and who was the victim. That required a big deal of courage, a readiness to sacrifice own life. It wasn't an easy thing to do. Imagine these days, sometimes you might be living in a country where you can't say a word. you'd be put in prison. A democratic country would tell you, there's democracy, there's freedom of speech, as long as you don't criticize them, maybe. Freedom of speech. Imagine those times. Someone like Yazid bin Muawiyah, if someone says a word, if someone calls him by the name without a title, that would be something deserving a great punishment. We see Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam willing to take these stances. So I'll mention this scene where this Ali ibn al-Hussein Zain al-Abidin, who was supposed to be a broken, defeated man, let's see what happens. It is said that in that courtyard, the reports say, ثم التفت إليه ثم التفت ابن زياد إلى علي ibn al-Hussein. At that moment, when they entered, Ibn Ziyad, the governor, he turns to Ali ibn al-Hussein, to Zain al-Abidin. And he says, who is this man? And he was told, that's Ali, son of Hussein. And he answered, did God not kill Ali, son of Hussein in Karbala? There was Ali, son of Hussein, that God killed him. Imam answered, he said, I had a brother named Ali, and he was killed by people in Karbala. The governor said, no, God killed him. And then the Imam answered with a verse of the Quran, Allahu yatawaffa al-anfusa hina mawtiha wallati lam tamut fi manamiha. So he answered him. Ibn Ziyad told him, how do you dare answering me back? And he ordered that he may be executed. Go and behead him. He gave the order. And this is where we see Zainab jumping, saying, Ibn Ziyad, you haven't spared any one of us. If you want to kill him, you have to kill me first. And she protected him. Shaykh al-Mufid says that Zainab clung to him, onto him. And she said, oh, Ibn Ziyad, by God, I would not separate from him. If you killed him, you kill me. Ibn Ziyad then looks at her, and then he says, عَجَبًا لِلرَّحِمْ وَاللَّهِ إِنِّي لَأَظُنُّهَا. He said, it seemed that she wanted me to kill her actually, to spare Ali ibn al-Hussein. And this is where Ali ibn al-Hussein would ask his Auntie Zainab, let me answer that man. And he said to this man, أَبِالْقَتْلِ تُهَدِّدُنِي يَبْنَ زِيَادٍ. O son of Ziyad, are you threatening me with death? In another report, he would say, Yabna Tulaqa, O the son of the freed ones, reminding him of his fathers who were freed on that day in Mecca. With death, are you threatening me, O the son of those who were freed on that day? أما علمت أن القتل لنا عادة وكرامتنا من الله الشهادة. Did you not know that we are used to death and that God dignified us with martyrdom? And this has become a slogan that the followers of Hussein and Ali ibn al-Hussein chant till this day in front of every tyrant. It is sufficient for you today to listen to what the people in Palestine are saying. It is sufficient for you today to see these slogans chanted by the people in Yemen today, the people in Lebanon today, the people in Iraq today, every oppressed person. Are you threatening me with humiliation? I have my dignity that God has given me. No one like yourself denies it from us. This was the courage of this Imam. This was the courageous stances that he took. Obviously, in Kufa, people would visit the caravan, the Imam alayhi salam, the family. People would visit them, would apologize to them, and Imam Zain al-Abidin would clarify, would remind them what happened. And the people of Kufa knew. Remember, people of Kufa, they knew Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salam. They knew the family of Ali. They lived with them. They know who the Ahlul Bayt were. And this is where we see the speech of Imam Zain al-Abidin in Kufa is different a bit from the speech of Imam Zain al-Abidin in Sham later. Because later in Sham, the mission became more difficult, much more difficult than what it was in Kufa. For two main reasons. One is that now in Sham, in Syria, it is the center of the government now. Not a branch like Ubaidullah bin Ziyad. Not a certain distant representation of that central government. No. Now it is in the presence of Yazid, the tyrant himself, the king himself. It is in the presence of the center of this government that gave all these orders. And number two, the people of Sham were different from the people of Kufa. People of Sham were people who were misinformed. People of Sham, all they knew was the Islam that was introduced to them by the children of Abu Sufyan. People of Sham, since the early days of expansion of Islam, the first governor was who? Was who? Was Yazid, son of Abu Sufyan. Their second governor was who? Was Muawiyah, the brother of this Yazid, son of Abu Sufyan. Then they had Yazid, the son of Muawiyah, the son of Abu Sufyan. That's the version of Islam they knew. The people of Sham didn't know about Ahlul Bayt, the family of the Prophet. They didn't know about the companions. They didn't know about Ali, Fatima, what their status were. All they thought was this Ali was a Khariji, this Ali was a Kafir, this Ali, it is impossible that he was praying in a mosque where he was struck. This was the people of Sham. So now the mission is much more difficult. Imam Zain al-Abidin now had to be reminding them of who they are, who this family is, who these captives are. So we see now Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam, in some records of history, they depict that he entered the courtyard of Yazid. Yazid, again, this tyrant, the one who issued that order of what? Take the allegiance from Hussain, otherwise kill him even if he was hung, even if he was stuck to the Kaaba. Yazid who gave these orders. Yazid who wouldn't have any problem killing Ali ibn al-Hussein in that moment. Yazid who would gather these elite people, who would shiver in front of Yazid, who would, if they want to address Yazid with something, it has to be Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. It has to be with these titles that if you skip, you're doomed. The reason I'm saying this is that I could say, well, Ali ibn al-Hussein, Imam Zain al-Abidin, he stood in front of Yazid and he delivered that sermon. As if we're talking about someone who composed and sat and composed a sermon in peace, in very nice circumstances. But no, when I recite the sermon of Ali ibn al-Hussein, of Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, remember that situation. Remember that he was standing before this tyrant. He was standing before someone who had just massacred his family. Someone who has no representation, no connection to Islam whatsoever. Someone who is feared by the people. So in a report, Yazid gathered the people of Sham, the elite people of Sham. SubhanAllah, how these people work. Look, remember with Ibrahim, Prophet Ibrahim and Namrud. Namrud wanted to defeat Ibrahim. So what he did, he wanted to humiliate him. He gathered all the people so that they witnessed the burning of Ibrahim. He gathered all of them. SubhanAllah, Ibrahim, if he had to go and knock the doors of every single one to invite them to the way of God, Ibrahim wouldn't have finished. It would have been very difficult. But no, وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهِ. They plan, but God plans. وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. And Allah is the best of planners. And everyone witnessed the miracle from Ibrahim. يَا نَارُ كُونِي بَرْدًا وَسَلَامًا. The fire was safe for Ibrahim. The same thing with Fir'aun and Musa. Fir'aun gathered the chief, the elites of people to witness the defeat of Musa by the magicians. Musa, if he had to knock the doors of every single person in Egypt to invite them to the way of God, he wouldn't have been able to make it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did it through the hands of the enemy of Musa. Fir'aun gathered everyone, and everyone witnessed the miracle of Musa. Allah plans. Allah plans. Yazid did the same thing. He gathered the elite of Sham. Imam Zain al-Abidin, if we had to go and knock the door of every merchant in Sham, every person of the elite, every worker, every person, he wouldn't have been able to make it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did it for him. Yazid gathered so that he can humiliate these people, so that people can see and witness the family of the Messenger of God. It is narrated that Yazid wanted the people gathering in the big mosque, in the Masjid al-Amawi, today as it is called, in Sham, in Damascus. It was narrated that one time when he gathered the people of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, Yazid ordered a pulpit and a speaker. And he said to the speaker, ascend to the pulpit and mention our virtues and the vices of our enemies. So the speaker ascended the pulpit and exaggerated with insulting Ali, with insulting Hussein, And he went on praising Muawiyah and praising Yazid. I wonder what this person said about Muawiyah. Some recorders of history or narrations, like An-Nasa'i, for example, he says, we looked and looked and looked for one merit of Muawiyah, we didn't find anything, except that the Prophet said, may he never be satisfied with food. May he always be hungry for food. That's the merit of Muawiyah. I wonder what this man said about Muawiyah and Yazid in praise. And he mentioned them in every beautiful way. Then Imam Zain al-Abidin shouted at him, woe to you, O man! You bought the pleasure of the creation with the wrath of the Creator. So prepare yourself for your seat in the hellfire. Then the Imam said, O Yazid by the name. O Yazid, allow me to ascend and speak words in which there is the pleasure of God and in which there is a reward for these people listening. Yazid refused to allow him. So the people would say to Yazid, O commander of the faithful, what speech does this young man know? Allow him. Yazid said, he's from a family that has been fed knowledge abundantly. The people insisted on Yazid until he gave permission. The Imam ascended the pulpit and praised Allah, and then he delivered a sermon that brought tears to the eyes and made the hearts fearful of God. Imam Zain al-Abidin showed here his true eloquence in this very difficult situation. The essence of what these Imams, or how they speak. أيها الناس أعطينا ستا وفضلنا بالسبع. O people, we have been given 6 things and we have been favored with 7. We have been given knowledge, patience, generosity, eloquence, courage, and love in the hearts of the believers. We have been favored by having from us the chosen Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. And from us are the 2 sibts of this nation, and from us is the flying one, and from us is the truthful one, and from us is the lion of God and the lion of his messenger, and from us are the sibtain, or the asbat of this nation. Whoever knows me has known me, and whoever does not know me, I will inform them of my lineage and ancestry. Imam here is reminding everyone who this family is. This is the family that is the extension of Ibrahim and the family of Ibrahim, extension of Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. Imam said, أيها الناس أنا ابن مكة ومنى أنا ابن زمزم والصفا أنا ابن من حمل الركن بأطراف الردى. O people, I am the son of Mecca and Mina. I am the son of Zamzam and Safa. I am the son of the one who carried the corner with the edges of the Aba or the cloak. I am the son of the best of those who put on a cloak. I am the son of the best of those who wore sandals or walked barefoot. I am the son of the best of those who circumambulated the Kaaba and who performed sa'i. I am the son of the best of those who performed Hajj and uttered the Talbiyah. I am the son of the one who was carried on the Buraq in the heavens. I am the son of the one who was taken on a night journey from the sacred mosque to Al-Aqsa. I am the son of the one whom Jabrail took to Sidratil Muntaha, to the low tree of the Muntaha. I am the son of the one who approached and came Qaba Qawsayni aw Adna, and came close until he was 2 bow lengths away or nearer from God. I am the son of the one who prayed with the angels of the heaven. I am the son of the one to whom the majestic God revealed what he revealed. I am the son of Muhammad al-Mustafa. I am the son of Ali al-Murtada. I am the son of Fatima al-Zahra, Sayyidat al-Nisa. I am the son of Khadija al-Kubra. I am the son of the one who was unjustly killed in Karbala. I am the son of the one whose head was severed from the back. I am the one of the thirsty one until he died. I am the son of the one who was laid to rest in Karbala. I am the son of the one who was robbed of his turban and abba and cloak. I am the son of the one for whom the angels of the heaven wept. I am the son of the one for whom the jinn on earth and the birds in the sky mourned. I am the son of the one whose head was guided on a spear. I am the one I am the son of the one whose family was taken captive from Iraq to Syria. O people, Allah the Almighty has tested us, the people of Ahlul Bayt, with a good test, where He has placed the banner of guidance, justice, and piety in us, and placed the banner of misguidance and ruin in others. And Imam kept saying, I am, I am, I am, until the people cried and wept loudly for the tragedy. And Yazid feared that there would be disorder, and he ordered the muezzin to cut off by reciting the call for prayer, the adhan. When the muezzin said, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, God is great, God is great, Imam Zain al-Abidin said, nothing is greater than God. When the muezzin said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Imam Salamullahi alayhi said, my hair, my skin, my flesh and blood bear witness to it, that there is no God but God. When the muezzin said, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, Imam Zainul Abidin turned. When the muezzin said, I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of God, Imam turned from the pulpit to Yazid and said to him, O Yazid, again, O Yazid, is this Muhammad my grandfather or your grandfather? If you say he's your grandfather, you have lied and committed blasphemy. And if you claim that he's my grandfather, then why did you kill his family? Why did you kill my father unjustly? Why did you massacre them in this way? Why did you plunder his wealth and take his women for captive? Yazid did not answer him. And the muezzin finished the call to prayer and the iqamah. And Yazid came forward and prayed the noon prayer. Then Yazid ordered that the family of the Messenger of God and the daughters of Ali alayhi salam, the daughters of Zahra, to be placed in a place that did not protect him neither from heat nor from cold, that had no roof to shade them from the heat of the sun. And so the sun would melt them in the heat of the noon until their faces would peel from its heat. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-'aliyyil 'azim. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. Ilahi, we ask you, Ya Allah, بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها فرج عنا يا الله 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 يا Allah. Ilahi, we ask you that you may accept from us this little deed. Ilahi, we ask you that you may forgive us our sins. Ilahi, we ask you that you may guide us to yourself. Ilahi, we ask you that you may grant the hajat of every muhtaj in this assembly, in this majlis, and their relatives. Ilahi, grant the speedy and quick recovery to every of the mu'mineen and mu'minat, especially the attendees of this majlis and their relatives. Ilahi, send your blessings and mercy to all those who passed away, of the relatives of this community, of members of this community, of the relatives of the attendees of this majlis. Ya Allah. Ilahi, shower them with your mercy. Ilahi, they are your guests and you are the best of hosts. Ilahi, we ask you that you may forgive us our sins and grant us our hajat, Ya Allah, with 5 times Amma yujibul muttar. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma yujibul أما يجيب المضطر إذا أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر أما for the acceptance of your amal, for the shifa of all the marda, to the souls of all the mu'mineen and mu'minat of your relatives, to the souls of the shuhada, souls of the ulama, inshallah, for the preservance of our ulama, for the victory of the oppressed against oppressors all around the world, especially for the victory of our brothers and sisters in Palestine and everyone supporting them. Please recite Surah Al-Fatiha preceded by salawat.